Hello, I am Ruby Falconer. Today's date is July 27th, 2020, and this is an astrological update for the upcoming week from the perspective of Shamanic Egyptian Astrology. So we begin this day, this week, with Mercury moving into a square to Mars. And this is the second square that Mercury has formed with Mars, Mercury being in Cancer and Mars being in Aries. The first one was on July 8th, and that was back when Mercury was retrograde. And so now Mercury is once again square to Mars for the second and final time in this swoop through the loop. And what's most important about this is it sets up a series of events that are going to be taking place really for the rest of the year. And it involves the planet Mars. Mars is now within striking distance. It's in a square to Jupiter. And it is over the next week, it's going to be moving into squares to Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. And then it's going to be going on. Mars is going to be very much a player for the rest of the year. And it's going to have a lot to do with whatever it is that happens, whatever manifestation we end up seeing from this alignment of the great shift planets. And I don't want to be all doom and gloom. Sometimes I feel like I am, because sometimes people will say, when's it going to stop? When are things going to go back to normal? And what I keep saying is that there is no normal anymore. We're not going back to any semblance of normality. We are going to move to something new. I don't believe that this is the end of the world. These kinds of transits happen periodically, in people's lives, and they are major transformative periods. If you look back through history, there have been many of them, and the world has not ended. And the world has certainly gone through some difficult phases, and here we are in a difficult phase that isn't going to stop. Even though the series of things that are going on right now from an astrological perspective do come to completion in December, we got a whole other array of things that are going to come up next year that suggest that we're going to be building on the transformation and change that is initiated in this year. And so it's about building a new world. As I say many times about the Great Alignment, it is about the container of society, the container of the collective being dismantled. And a new container will be built, but we're not done with the dismantling yet. So this process has to continue. Every time we've had a Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which is the heart of the great shift alignment and the heart of everything that's been going on this year, happens about once every 35 years, sometimes a little less, sometimes 33 years, sometimes 37, depends on where the planets are in their orbits. Every time that happens, a new collective phase is initiated that is like a new era. That happened in 1947, when we moved into the nuclear era, the atomic age, the Cold War. And it happened again in 1984 when the shift on the global stage moved from Europe and moved from the Cold War to the Middle East. And this one is particularly intense because Saturn's in its own sign in Capricorn, and because we have, along with the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, we have a conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn. The principle of expansion and the principle of contraction are aligned with one another. And just imagining that, there's a tension between expansion and contraction. The old container wants to continue, it wants to maintain itself, and change wants to dismantle, it wants to happen. So there's a struggle going on, and that's not going to stop anytime soon. All change comes with a struggle, like kind of a back and forth. That happens within us and it happens externally as well. So here we are. Now, what's happening this week, to bring it back to this particular week, Mercury is kicking off this bigger phase involving the warrior Mars, but what Mercury is going to do is it's in the square to Mars today, and then over this week it's going to be moving through an opposition to the great shift planets. And specifically, we have on the 30th, we have Mercury opposite to Jupiter. On August 1st, which is Saturday, we have Mercury opposite to Pluto, and then next Monday, August 3rd, we have Mercury opposite to Saturn. And then immediately Mars begins a similar track, and that Mars will start forming squares to the Jupiter, the great shift planets, which will take place from August 4th through August 24th. So pretty much all of August is going to be dominated by Mars, the warrior, moving into squares, challenging relationships with the great shift planets. So the energies just keep going, and the energies specifically around the types of transformations that this great shift alignment represents are going to continue. So, when I do these little updates, I usually speak from a collective perspective because it's the energy that we're all undergoing. But of course, these energies are affecting all of us on an individual level as well. I do chart readings for individuals, and I'm doing a lot of readings these days for people who have personal planets that are being affected by the great shift alignment. And what this means in their personal life is there's ways in which the container of their life, that's being held, is being dismantled. And so if some of you really feel like your life is being dismantled in some way, you probably have some energy that's hitting you directly from these great shift planets. And it can be upsetting, it can be frightening, it can be exhilarating. There have been folks who have been looking forward to this dismantling for a long time who are really enjoying it. Kind of depends on who you are and what the combination of energies are in your chart, and what you've been doing up till now, where you've been putting your attention, so to speak. But for others, it can be very frightening because there's that feeling of everything being taken away and the uncertainty of it all. And so, we would not be human if we did not feel some of this, even if we've known that these changes have to happen, that we need to go through these processes. So all of this is going on for us as an individual level. And so Mercury, I'm going to talk a little bit about Mercury today, and one of the things we're going to do is go on a journey with Thoth, who is the Egyptian counterpart of Mercury, and we've worked with Thoth before, but what's important about Mercury Thoth, that energy, is it is about our mind. Our mind is how we think, it's how we communicate, how we remember, how we articulate ideas, process information, and it's also the nature of the reality construct that we hold. What is truth? What is reality? How do we perceive things? What is our perception when we look out into the world? Look at our environment. That's very much described by Mercury in our chart, and it holds that container for us. So that's going through a huge shift for all of us as Mercury moves through these relationships. We can look outside of ourselves and see the changes that are happening on a collective level, but these changes are internalized as well. And Mercury is this archetype's Roman name. His Greek name was Hermes. And in those two cultures, those two mythologies, he was often shown as a young man with wings. He'd wear a helmet with wings on his helmet. He would have wings on his feet, and he flew. And he basically carried the messages of the gods. So if Zeus or Jupiter, Zeus is his Greek name, Jupiter is his Roman name, wanted to get some information to some other, ones of the gods or goddesses, Mercury would deliver the message. And the way we can think of this in our individual psyche is Mercury processes information that comes from our body, that comes from our emotions, and delivers it to our mind. It delivers it to consciousness. So, we become aware that we have some aches and pains. So Mercury might say, oh, you pulled a muscle. You need to do something around that. So your mind realizes that, or, oh, maybe I need to get this checked out. This might be serious. So, our mind can also process emotions as well as information from the body. So now I'm afraid because maybe, that pain that I have in my body might be something serious. I might need to go let it looked at. We're going to go to Google. We're going to Google everything and go, uh-oh, we're in trouble now. So those sorts of things. So our minds are these amazing processors of information, but some of that information isn't real. Yes, it's affected by emotions, it's affected by feelings, and it's affected by false information appearing real. as is often said in the recovery world. But, our minds think it. It's like we look out at someone and it's like, oh, you don't like me. Then I'm going to have feelings about you because I think you don't like me based on some information that I process from how you looked at me. But if I go over and ask you, this person might be like, what are you talking about? I don't think about you one way or another. Or I love you. You're an amazing person. So our mind is an interesting part of our makeup. It's a great gift. It's what has allowed us humans to do amazing things on our planet, but it also gives us misinformation. Mercury and Hermes in his respective Greek and Roman cultures, or Roman and Greek in this case, was also known as the trickster, in that he would play tricks on people. He loved to do that. And he would give them false information. So we can't automatically trust the first response of our mind. So what I would like to do today is invite everyone to go on a journey with Thoth. In the Egyptian pantheon, Thoth is like the great-great-great-grandfather of Hermes and Mercury. But he is a very ancient god. He's one of the most ancient of all. He was, in the Egyptian mythology, he was around at the beginning of the world. He is the inventor of the alphabet, therefore he is the inventor of language, he's the inventor of writing. He's also the inventor of time, and that's an interesting designation because on this planet, in this dimension, time is how we measure things. And as physics has told us, and as many of us understand from our own internal work and our internal journeys, time is an illusion. It doesn't really exist except on this planet and specifically in this dimension. If we get off the earth, time is irrelevant. It no longer has meaning. It's an artificial construct that we have. If we're not experiencing the seasons, and if we're not experiencing the rotation of the earth around the sun, time as we measure it here on earth has no relevance. So it's very unique to our earth experience. And Thoth is the one who invented it. And he invented it to give us humans a way of measuring things, being able to measure processes that we move through and work that we do in the world. But it's a construct, it's a tool. So I want to go back to what I said early on when I said that Mercury in traditional astrology, in addition to being communication and how well we articulate and how we think, all of those things, what we think about, all of that, it is the reality construct that we carry. And part of what is going on during this time with that great shift alignment is that our reality construct is changing. Just as collectively the container of society is changing, and we will not go back and reclaim that old container. I have no idea what it's going to look like. I will be as surprised as anyone else. But what I know is that one's gone. And we're all trying to catch up with that, in varying ways. We can intellectually understand things aren't going to go back to normal, but because we don't know where we're going, we might want this to be over so things can be normal again, right? There's a contradiction there, and many of us know, but we do it anyway because it's scary. These processes are scary. So what I would like to invite everyone to do today is to go on a journey with Thoth, who is an amazing archetype. I regard all of these gods and goddesses from various cultures as being archetypes for information to be passed to us here on planet Earth from other dimensions, to commune with him and allow him to pass on some information for you regarding changes that are taking place in your reality construct, your personal perception of how things are, what reality is, and also perhaps to give you some suggestions of some things you might do, some places you might put your attention, some things you might look at in order to support yourself, you as an individual, moving through these processes. I want to reiterate that, we're in some ways, it's kind of, we've been through a lot, But we are moving through another phase where things on some levels are going to get even more intense. It's going to be very hard for any of us to pretend that we're going back to anything regarding resembling normalcy. And so we all have to prepare ourselves for that in some way, be willing to take care of ourselves, take care of our families, take care of those we love, take care of our home, however we define that. And Mercury's in Cancer, which is the sign of home, family. In the Egyptian pantheon, it's the divine parents who create a sacred container that holds all of us. That's our biosphere, which is our home, our home here on planet Earth. So all of us need to be thinking about what kind of container we want to hold ourselves in. Because the better container we have for ourselves, the better, stronger container we have to hold any doubt, any fear, any feeling that things are out of control and we can't take care of ourselves, the stronger container that we have for that, the more we're going to be able to do our work in the world, to support others, to take care of those we love, and to contribute to building the new container for the collective. We need a strong container for ourselves. So we're going to take some time journeying with Thoth so that he can download some information for you, uniquely for you, about, again, changes you might need to make, perspectives you might need to open to that maybe you're resisting or just not seeing. Whatever, the information that comes will be unique for you. And so Thoth, for the ancient Egyptians, was often portrayed as an individual with a human body and the head of an ibis. And an ibis is a bird unique to that part of the world with a very long bill. So it's kind of looks a little bit like a heron, we might think, but it has an extremely long bill. And so he often is portrayed that way. And he is, as I said before, the sacred scribe, inventor of language, inventor of writing, and inventor of time, which he gave as gifts to humanity. So he is a very ancient archetype. So I want to invite everyone to get comfortable. Take a couple of nice deep breaths. And close your eyes. Using the breath to help yourself drop down deep into your body. Letting go of resistance. Letting go of distractions. And find a point in your body, somewhere down in your torso, in your heart, maybe in your solar plexus, in your belly, somewhere where the center of your being wants to settle. And breathe into that place. Feel it expanding. And now take that energy from your torso and move it up to your third eye, center of your forehead. And imagine that your third eye, this is your sixth chakra, is being activated by this energy that came from deep within you. It's expanding. Perhaps you can feel some pulsing there. Just take a minute. And now imagine that you are in the center of a six-pointed star. Six-pointed star is a very sacred symbol. Some people might think of it as the Star of David. certainly is important in the Jewish tradition, but it comes to them from the mystical tradition of the Kabbalah, sacred geometry. And it is a symbol that has been used by cultures around the world throughout time. So imagine that you are standing in the center of it. Just keep breathing. Let yourself be in the center of a six-pointed star. And you become aware that you are not alone. There is a being who has come to join you. And this being is Thoth, the sacred scribe. And he comes close to you, and he places his hand on your third eye, that place where you have sent the energy that you gathered together from your torso and moved up. And he places it there with his palm. And he is sending you information through that connection between his palm and your third eye, your sixth chakra. And this is information that you need. This is a download. It may be about changes that you need to make right now in your life. It may be information that you've not fully considered, or perhaps you've resisted it in some way. This is information that he is gifting to you to help you move through this next phase and take advantage of it. To help you release what needs to be released from your personal container and bring in what you most need in order to build a new version of yourself. So I'm going to be quiet now for a couple of minutes and let you journey with Thoth, ancient god of Egypt, sacred scribe, creator of language, creator of time. Remember to breathe. You may have some questions for Thoth. Ask him, he will answer. And remember to breathe. With your permission, Thoth is going to do a healing on you. Among his many medicine tools are a set of beautiful blue crystals. With your permission, he will use these blue crystals, placing them in your energy field where they most need to go, so that you can best open to the energies that are working on you and meet the challenges that this time presents. And if you don't want to do this, simply allow yourself to be in a place of quiet receptivity. Take a nice deep breath and allow Thoth to do his work. You may receive information while this healing takes place. You become aware now that Isis has joined you. And she wraps you in her rainbow wings and pulls you close to her. So lie back into her arms. Receive her healing energy. And Thoth is there too. Thoth and Isis are old friends, colleagues in the work. So just lie back and receive. And allow Isis to assist you in integrating anything that Thoth has given you. And taking a nice deep breath, give thanks to both these beautiful beings for the gifts that they have given you, and making a commitment to yourself to follow through, to take action on the information that you've been given. Change is a constant, and we are definitely in a time of great change. Thank you. Thank you for being with me, and we will talk again.